Hello everyone. This tutorial will go through and give you some guidance on how to navigate the Black Diamond Wealth Reporting program that I use for your online account access. I thought a video might be easier than just typing up instructions, be something that you could follow along. Now, if you do not have access to your account online, you have to let me know that. I will go ahead and send you an invitation. In that invitation, you'll create your user ID will actually already be created, but you'll create a password and some other login credentials. Once you have those credentials established, you'll be able to log in. And when you first log in, your screen should look something like this. Now, obviously, your account value and the particular accounts that you have are going to be a little bit different, but it should look something like this. As you can see, we're in the Home tab, and the Home tab is going to be something where it'll show you the overall account of your portfolio. In this case, $1,247,000. In this case, it's made up of 5 different accounts: the John and Jane Joint Account, the Jane Traditional IRA, the John Traditional IRA, the John Roth IRA, and the Jane Roth IRA. Now, some folks may just want the basics of their account and want to be able to get a snapshot of how things are doing. You may be able to stop the video at this point in time, and this is all that you need. For those of you that want to dig in a little bit deeper, keep watching and we'll show you some of the things that you can do with this. Now, this information on this program is going to be updated every business day. So for example, today is July 22nd, 2019. All the information that you will see going forward will be as of July 19th, 2019. Today's a Monday, that was a Friday, so the last business day was the 19th. Tomorrow, it will show all the information as of July 22nd. So it is as up to date as you can get. Obviously, my contact information is in the upper right-hand corner in case you need to get a hold of me, want to send me an email, whatever works best for you. So if you want to dig into things a little bit more, you can click on this Net Worth tab and click on the Accounts section. This is going to essentially, as the page is set up right now, show you exactly the same information that the previous page showed you. It's going to show you the overall value of your portfolio. Then it's going to show the value of each individual account. However, what the difference is with this page is that you're able to click on this greater than button next to the account, and you can actually expand the account out. So it'll show that the account is worth $987,000, but then it'll show it how it's invested in each particular fund, how much is in each fund, the number of units that you have, and the price per share. Now, if you see this FDIC insured deposit account on any of the accounts, and you'll probably see them on all of them, in fact, that's actually your money market. So if you're wondering why that's only $1 per share and it's always $1 per share, that is your money market that you have. It's kind of a slush fund. If there's additional money that is in the account or whatnot, it's there, frankly, to pay for fees and whatnot so that we don't have to sell things every month. We talked a little bit about some of the charges that you may incur for that, so it's there to save you some fees. Also, if you need to get money out of the account, it will come out of one of these investments. It will be sold out of them, go into the money market, and then that's where money is actually sent out to your home or to your bank account. By the same token, if money's coming in, it has to go into the money market first, and then it gets invested into the different investments or just one of the investments or whatever the scenario is. Now, one thing on this page that you can do is you may be wondering what the Invesco Oppenheimer Developing Markets Fund does and what it is. So you can click on this hyperlink here, and it will actually take you to a Morningstar page. Morningstar is an independent third party that tracks how mutual funds are performing. They look at not only the quantitative information about their performance and expenses and whatnot, but they'll also look at the qualitative information. They have analysts that cover each one of these funds, and they'll give their opinion on how the fund is performing, what they think of the managers, changes that they're making, some areas like that. So this will be something that will show you kind of a snapshot of it. It gives you some information here, who the analyst is. You can click here to read the full analysis, and it's going to tell you a lot about the fund. It's going to tell you, a summary for it, what they think of the performance of the fund compared to their peers, what they think of the price, whether they think the fund is really expensive or really inexpensive, their process for choosing particular investments and how they go about doing that, what they think of the people that work at the particular fund company, the parent company that's in charge of this fund, and how they're set up and whatnot. So it'll give you some different information, some different pieces of qualitative information that you're not going to get on just a fact sheet. Then it will show you a chart here that gives you an idea how the fund has performed, in this case the blue line, to the index and to their category average. It will also show you on this first line the percentage return each year for the last 10 years of the fund and year to date, that's updated monthly, how it has performed plus or minus the category, and how it's performed plus or minus the index. It'll give you an idea of the quartile rank for where it stands within its peer group and the percentile rank. So it gives a lot of great information. This is information that I look at fairly frequently, something that I use a lot with. I use Morningstar an awful lot, but it will also tell you its investment style, that it's in the large growth area, for example, so it's invested in stocks. Again, this may be something you look at and say, Dave, that's what your job is, and I'm going to leave it in your hands, and that's perfectly fine. If you do have an interest in digging into it, that information is here. And again, when going back to this page, it's going to be available for every one of the investments. Now you'll be able to, again, you can click on the greater than sign for any one of the funds, and this will show you, it's in the same allocation, but it will show you how this particular account is invested. And again, the value that you have in the fund, price per share, and number of units that you have, and whatnot. And if you've gone through and you've expanded a few of these and you said, okay, well, I kind of get the point and I don't want to have to click on this again to collapse every one of them, you can just click on this collapse all button at the upper right and it'll go ahead and take care of that for you. Then if you want to dig in a little bit deeper and you want to look at not just how the money is invested, but maybe you want to look at the allocation, you want to look at the performance and some things like that, you can click on this portfolio section and we'll start off in the dashboard. The dashboard is going to give you a lot of information in different areas. Now, for example, it starts off with the activity summary, then you have the allocation and the performance. The activity summary, again, just like the previous pages, will show you basic information first. It will say for this time frame, last 12 months, as of July 19th, 2019, the amount of money that's been put into the account, the amount of money that has been made or lost in the account for that time frame, and then the ending value. Again, essentially the information that we talked about before. Now you can expand this and it'll essentially give you the same information. It will show you a couple of additions though. It's going to show you the gain and loss per account. So it's going to break down this overall value up here at the upper left hand corner per account. Now in this case, this is an interactive chart and it looks kind of like a plateau just because the fund hasn't been, or the account hasn't been around for that long. But you can see day to day how the account or the overall portfolio has performed. So if that's something that you're wanting to look at a particular time frame, you're able to do that. Now if we click back on the activity, you can now go to the allocation section. The allocation is something where you can hover over this pie chart and you can see how the portfolio is made up. In this case, Jane's traditional IRA is worth $987,000 and it's 79% of the overall portfolio. Their joint account is worth $152,000 and it's worth about 12% of the portfolio. If you want to change that though and you say, well, I don't want to see how much is invested in a particular fund, there are times that folks want to do that, but I want to look at what my split is between stocks and bonds. Stocks is another word for equities and bonds is another word for fixed income. So you can see in this case that they're about 70 to 71% in stocks in different areas, obviously international, domestic, large cap, small cap, that type of thing. And then they also have about 28% in fixed income with about 1% in cash equivalents. Now, if you want to expand this out any further, again, it's going to give you some options to not only view this in a larger size, but also you can click on the equities and you can say, okay, well, what makes up my equities? How much do I have, say, in the balanced category? And what is that? In this case, this is the BlackRock Global Allocation Fund. you can see that there's $13,388 invested in that. And you can expand it even further to say, well, where is that money? The $13,388, there is $6,496 in Jane's Roth IRA and $6,891 in John's Roth IRA. If you want to go a little further and you say, okay, well, that's the balanced. Where's the international? Well, you have this Oakmark International Fund that has $117,000 in it. By the same token, you can click on this and see specifically which particular account holds that fund and how much is invested in each fund. You can do that with every one of these. You can look at every one for the Invesco Oppenheimer Developing Markets, the JP Morgan Emerging Markets, and so on, and look at fairly detailed information. Again, if you want to get back up here and say, all right, I've clicked on enough of them, I want to collapse them back down, it's going to take you all the way back to the overall portfolio. So if we click back on allocation, we'll now go to performance. Performance is something that a lot of people really look at with this, because your average statement or other printouts will show you where your money's invested. It will a lot of times show you your activity and your allocation, but most folks are really interested in the performance. And the nice thing about this, again, just like these other charts with them being interactive between this bar, this line chart here, the pie chart and whatnot, this chart is also interactive. But the thing I really like about it is that it is going to show you how the overall portfolio has performed compared to its benchmark. So not only is it going to show you that this account has been up 1.8% in this time frame, which this little number 1 means that the account has not been around for the full 12 months, but it's also going to give you an idea of how it has performed compared to its benchmark. Now, the way that this program does its benchmark is really quite good. If you had an account, we're going to take a simple example, that is 80% in a stock fund and 20% in a bond fund. It's going to look at that stock fund and it's going to compare it to a benchmark that is similar to what it's investing in. So if it's investing all in large cap growth stocks in the US, for example, it's going to compare it to a large cap growth index. If it's got something that has 20% of its money invested in bonds, and those are all government bonds, for example, it's going to compare that to a benchmark that's made up of 20% of government bonds. Now, the nice thing is, and the part that's really good and inventive that they've done is, if we get into a situation that you get worried about the market and you call me and say, Dave, I want to take less risk, and you decide to go into a 60-40 portfolio, 60% equities, 40% bonds, it will actually automatically change the benchmark that it's comparing the portfolio to from that period going forward to a 60-40 blend instead of continuing to compare it to an 80-20 blend. So when you see this benchmark, it really is an apples to apples comparison. It's not something that we have to say, well, you know, that's not really an apples to apples comparison and we have to make some explanations for it or whatnot. Now, when you expand this out, you can look at a couple of different things. Again, this is something that when you look at this chart, this is just a bigger version of what we saw on the previous page. But what you can actually do, because this is showing you the performance of the overall portfolio, you can actually click on, in this case, her Roth IRA. Well, you can see that the color changed to orange, and now that orange line is her Roth IRA. So you can look at each particular account, and you can actually break it down even further than that. You can look at the equities and say, oh, well, okay, we want to look at how this is invested. And as we saw on the previous page under the allocation tab, she has all of her money in the BlackRock Global Allocation Fund. So how has that performed compared to the index? Now, in this case, it hasn't really done too well, but it's going to give you some comparisons to make. You can do the same thing with her traditional IRA. You can say, well, I want to see how the equities have performed, and there's several other categories here. We talked about large cap growth before, and you can see that it's done pretty well. I mean, it's fared pretty well. And again, just like the previous ones, you can drag your mouse over that line chart, and it's going to show you day to day how that has done and how it has compared. Now, one other thing that's really nice about this that you may have an interest in is if you're wanting to look at how this account has performed for a particular period of time, you can do that up here. You just click on this, and you can click on some preset ones like year to date, since inception, or you can customize it. But customize basically takes you back up to this page, and if you were to say, for example, again, this is the last 12 months, you may say, you know, I really want to see how it did since not just July 20th of 2018, I want to see how it performed for that week, July 15th, from the 15th to the 19th. It's going to go in, it's going to refresh this information, and it's going to say, okay, well, you started out here on the 15th, obviously a 0% return. You went down then a little bit on the 16th. You were down 0.06, but the benchmark was down 0.24. The next day, you were down a total of 0.38. The benchmark was down 0.61, and so on. And you can look at one particular day. You don't have to start it as of July 19th. You can say, well, I really want to go back here, and I want to look at July 3rd, and I want to compare that to the 16th. For one reason or another, and you can see how it performed. Again, how it performed compared to the benchmark and whatnot. And again, just like before, you can expand any one of these out that you want, and you can see specifically how their individual holdings did compared to the index instead of having to rely on an overall portfolio view. Now, the last part that one other thing I'm going to say on this as well is that you are able to export this into a spreadsheet. You are able to, if this is something that you really enjoy spreadsheets and that format makes more sense, you can click on export and it'll show you exactly what you have, where it is, how it's performed for the time frame that you've chosen and whatnot. And you can download that and upload that into another system if you want or whatnot. But the last thing I wanted to touch on that is a great feature of this program is previously, if you wanted to look at your actual account statements or if you wanted to look at your actual tax documents at tax time, you had to log into a completely different system. This system is actually integrated very well into TD Ameritrade's system. So what you can do is you can click on this vault, and what that's going to do is it's going to show you different things that I have shared with you. I can build reports. If there's something that you want to look at and you call in and say, hey Dave, I'd like to look at this or I'd like to look at that, or if it's something that we're considering, I can build a report and put it into the vault here and you have access to it instead of sending it over email, which is something that is not secure. But in this case, you can look at your actual account statements from TD Ameritrade. Now in this case, there's no data because this account hasn't had any statements generated just yet. It's not that old. But you're also able to look at tax documents and other things like that, that when it gets to be tax time, you can have one login that you get access not only to your account, but also to tax documents, statements, and other things that may be pertinent for you. So it's really a great system. I really like it. If you have any trouble navigating this, if you have any trouble getting into the system initially, as always, please do not hesitate to let me know. But hopefully this tutorial has been helpful. Hopefully this program is something that will help you keep up to speed with your accounts at times that if you want to do it on your own and don't want to give me a call, you're certainly welcome to do. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to give me a call. Thank you for your time, and as always, thank you for your continued trust. Have a great day.